You're listening to Menopause Natural Solutions, episode 46, Herbal Teas for Menopause. Welcome to Menopause Natural Solutions, your podcast for all things perimenopause and menopause related. Stay tuned as naturopath Jennifer Harrington explains how to use natural therapies to transform your health and happiness. Ladies, let me tell you, I'm so excited to have a special guest on with me today. I have introduced my dear friend Salma Yassien from the Herbistry to come and join me in this conversation about herbal medicine for menopause. Now, let me tell you about Salma so you can understand why she's our guest today. Salma is the founder and owner of a budding new herbal therapies company, the Herbistry, a Western herbal medicine practitioner and a graduate of Sydney University Pathology Science and Neurophysiology. Salma has also had extensive training in Eastern herbal medicine and therapeutics. This unique combination of training has shaped Salma's perspective to healing and lays the foundation of the Herbistry product range. The Herbistry offers a collection of fragrances and tea blends that are formulated for you to achieve your health goals. So can you see why she is the very best person to have on today's podcast to discuss with me the very best herbal medicine or herbal teas, specifically herbal teas for menopause. Welcome, Salma.
Thank you, Jennifer. I'm happy to be here.
Oh, it's always a pleasure to talk to you. And I thought, why I should share it. I should spread the word about you and your wonderful teas. So thank you so much for your time tonight.
Thank you, Jennifer. It's always wonderful to have a chat with you.
So let's talk herbal teas. What are the benefits? Why should we be drinking them?
Okay, well, firstly, the concept needs to change from it being a herbal tea to it being a herbal preparation. We need to see the source of where herbal teas originated. And it was always the medicine woman or the medicine man in the community that would gather the herbs according to a person's constitution and a person's health requirements. And they would make these combinations. They would make them in foods, they would make them in slabs, and they would boil them and recommend the patient to have them as a tea. So the tea per se is actually a herbal preparation to encourage healing and certain desirable effects to your body and your system. So with regards to menopause, it's another cycle in a woman's life. We are so fortunate as women to have seasons in our life.
Oh, yes.
We have summer, we have autumn, we have winter, and we have a vibrant spring. And yes, we may have certain periods of times where these seasons are so obvious. And within them, we have micro seasons. And menopause is just another beautiful season that a woman has in her life cycle. Sometimes she does not feel that it is an amazing new season that she should embrace. Sometimes her system does not allow her to see the beauty in her being a woman, especially at this time. And so with my herbal preparations, they're actually not my herbal preparations. They are your herbal preparations. They're the herbs that you need to help your body regain balance. Because, of course, Eastern medicine always discusses the balance and the requirement of the balance between the temperaments of the human body, and optimum health is optimum balance.
True.
So the herbs then that are recommended are the ones that will give you balance. Now, each person is an individual. Each constitution is individual. However, the common thread is the season. So with the season that we're discussing now, we can comfortably say there are certain herbs that help maintain balance in that season. Now, if you look at the beautiful woman in the phase of menopause, she will have things occurring in her body where she may have palpitations, she will have the hot flushes, there may be emotional surges, and it's the emotional aspect and the anxiety in which I desire to work with the most. Because once your state of mind and your heart is at ease, you will be able to embrace the healing process. You'll be able to embrace the path that you are on and the advice that's coming to you. So in these cases, I recommend sage, first and foremost, an absolute favorite. I recommend you drink it in a tea, fresh and dry. I recommend, yes, you have a smudge stick and you burn it in your home. And surround yourself with sage. It is the herb of transition. The fragrance works on your limbic system and it helps you adjust to transitional phases in your life, especially transitional seasons. Another thing that I find very amazing about a woman in this season is that a lot of the old traumas and past memories start coming back. Things that they had forgotten, things that they had only experienced when they first began menstruation. And sage has this ability to allow you to accept what's been happening, especially if you have it just before you go to bed. You rise in the morning and you feel that satisfaction with who you are. And this is a miracle of sage. It has a family around it that have these same properties, such as basil and marjoram and thyme. However, it is sage that works very effectively on the hot flushes. And that's why of that group, sage is my number one. My number two from that
Hold
group.
on, before you go on, I also want to add in a couple of sage is also my number one when it comes to sweating and hot flushes and night sweats. But
Yes.
just saying the word sage,
yes,
sage advice, it's also very powerful for cognition and for memory and wisdom. It's beautiful for so many other symptoms of menopause or the menopausal transition, not just the heat. So I do primarily use it for heat, but I also think about it for moods, brain function,
yes,
and calmness. So yes, I do 100% hear what you're saying about the calmness and the stepping into your own shoes and being comfortable and satisfied with that.
yes. Good. I'm happy that we're agreeing on the sage.
Ah, absolutely. And it's something that is really versatile. A lot of people have it in their gardens. And if they don't, it's an easy plant to grow.
Yes, but the harvest is peculiar. You have to be careful with the harvest.
Oh, tell me more.
All the other herbs, you're able to trim the stems and dry them off the bush. Sage requires that the leaves dry on the bush and you cut the stems once the leaves have dried. So you actually, if you would like the sage to be dried, you have to wait till the end of the season. So this is where the fresh comes into it, and you would need to have the fresh sage in its season.
Okay, well, I interrupted you before you were moving on to your second favourite. And
Beg your pardon. And the reason why I was moving on to the second one was because it's marjoram, which comes from the same aromatic family as sage. Now, when I do combinations, I like to see the herbs as musical notes. Musical notes work well in combinations. And sage and marjoram is one of those combinations. They're from the same family. And just as you had said, Jennifer, with the anxiety and the moods, they work very well in uplifting a person's mood and spirits and giving them a more positive outlook.
Yeah.
Marjoram is extremely fragrant and it cleanses the sinus. It also reduces lymphatic inflammation, especially.
I want to go back a step for a minute when you were talking about moods and happiness. Do you know that in Greek, marjoram actually means joy of the mountain?
Oh, wow. I just thought
that was interesting. I love traditionally how a lot of these things come together, but we lose some of the wisdom. So like joy of the mountain, does that sound like it might bring you happiness?
It absolutely does. And if you have someone that has got chronic hay fever and sinusitis, you will see the joy
when they can breathe.
When they breathe in marjoram.
Ah, yes.
Yes. And that I love that. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that with me. Yeah. I love that.
The other two things apart from happiness that I think of is headaches and sleep.
Yes.
But I've interrupted your train of thought. So you're talking about sinus?
No, that's okay. We don't need to talk about sinus. We need to
it's a menopause
about headaches and sleep. Because that's so important. Because if you don't get a restful sleep, the brain frequencies the beta brain frequencies that enable healing in the body, they cannot work efficiently. So yes, Jennifer.
And then you're not very happy at all.
Yes, that's completely right. And so with the herbal preparations that you would see the combination is in, for example, in the hot and bothered tea, they are all focused around the restfulness, the easing of the nervous system, the balancing of the mood.
Just for my listeners, I just wanted to let them know the hot and bothered tea is actually one of your teas from the Herbistry collection. In case they're going, where do we get this? What's hot and bothered tea? It is just one of the combination teas that Salma produces herself.
Thank you. Yes, so that's absolutely correct. However, the sleep, to get a good night's sleep, you have to have a good day. You can't be wired and anxious all day and then expect to hop into bed at 9 o'clock and fall asleep. How have you unwound? How have you let go of your day? And this is where the aniseed, like the combination with the aniseed and the Zizyphus also step in. The aniseed, traditionally as a singular herb, is used for the rest and digest phase of the nervous system. So it enables that vagus nerve to work on the digestive system, clear the respiratory system, and relax the body. In combinations with other herbs, it is a very effective hormone regulator.
And it has
And
quite an effective estrogenic activity.
Yes. And you'll find that in a lot of the traditional formulas, aniseed is always used in different combinations. And in this season, this is the combination that it's used in.
And it's also quite beneficial, or can be beneficial, with raising libido levels as well.
Yes, and careful, ladies, if you give your aniseed tea to your husband, you're not going to get any sleep.
Well, you better give yourself some aniseed tea too in that case, hey? Yeah, so you mentioned also the tea can come with some Zizyphus berries. Tell us some more about those, because these look amazing.
Yes, so Zizyphus is from the Chinese medicine Materia Medica. It's also known as red date. It's very well known and highly used throughout the Eastern medicine philosophies. And it's just an all-rounder. It's a nervine. It's very calming. It works on reducing the blood pressure. It reduces the night sweats. And it's a berry, so it's very potent antioxidant, and it's very flavoursome. The reason why I love using Zizyphus berries is because you can have them daily as a snack, or you can add them in your teapot and let that infuse into the herbal mix.
Yum. So when I use a lot of Zizyphus, but as a liquid extract.
Yes.
And when I think of Zizyphus, the big one is anxiety and headspace. So if you're one of these women that have cyclic thoughts, or you're just ruminating, you just need to break that thought pattern, Zizyphus is beautiful, but it also then helps with sleep, because quite often you can't sleep because you can't get out of that thought pattern. So they're the two things I use it a lot for. But it does also have a role to play with reducing hot flushes. But that is via the nervous system. So by actually calming down your sympathetic nervous system and relaxing, that's the method by which it reduces your hot flushes. And many women going through this menopausal transition sometimes have cardiovascular components, things like angina and palpitations and racing heartbeat. Zizyphus also calms that down. It's a beautiful, calming herb. So tell me a little bit more about your teas. So you've mentioned the hot and bothered tea. How do women access these?
Well, I have a website. I also have an Instagram page. You can find us at www.theherbistry.com.au. We have an online store where you can find our products, and we also have a custom blend option where you can give a little bit of information about yourself and some flavors that you enjoy, and we can make a custom blend for you and send it out to you.
Nice. So is that just for Australian women, or can you also send overseas?
Yes, we can send overseas, and it's one world right now. Yes, it's easy to get to. Yeah,
absolutely.
Yes.
Something else in your range that caught my eye, that I think why I've got you, we might as well talk about, is your myrrh spray.
I'm so happy you mentioned that, especially after you mentioned cyclic thoughts that don't enable you to sleep. Now, myrrh, as we know, is one of the gift of the three kings. And whether you consider it a true story or a fable, it was compared to gold. And as a herbalist, yes, I do consider myrrh to be gold. It has a cooling temperament. And when you use it, it actually gives you the cooling sensation. The second thing that I find amazing about myrrh is that it soothes a grieving heart. So with the emotional surges, with a lot of traumas that have happened in life, myrrh around you actually starts to help you heal your heart. It heals that broken heart. And energetically, it helps you focus your thoughts and have clarity in your mind. I personally, because I've been trained in Eastern medicine, I use fragrances to work with emotions, just like aromatherapy. However, I use blended oils instead of the essential oils. And each blended oil, each fragrance works on a different chakra and a different energy center. So myrrh really is it's like a master, it's a master fragrance. It works on the solar plexus, it works on the heart chakra, and you find that when you are using myrrh, you have that inner comfort. Another thing where you would find that frankincense and myrrh are always coupled together, and that's because they have a protective element to them. They, in ancient books, they are considered to be the ones to create an aura around you, which is a protective aura. So this helps when you feel that there's people around you that are getting on your nerves. So you may have
very common symptom of the transition.
Yes.
No longer tolerating fools.
That's it. And that's absolutely it. And that is one of the strengths of myrrh. It protects you from those that are heavy on your heart.
Wow, ladies, can you see why I was so excited to have Salma come and chat to us today? She is just a wealth of knowledge and such fascinating and interesting knowledge. Thank you, Salma.
Jennifer, it has been an absolute pleasure to talk with you, and thank you for letting me share my passion with you. And I'm very sorry if I talked too much, but thank you so much. It's
no, not at all. Like you're in the flow. I didn't want to disturb you. I'm like, oh, I don't want to cut in and you lose track of thought and lose some of that amazing content. So it's been an absolute pleasure. Now, ladies, I am going to put all of the details in the show notes. But before you go, Salma, can you just repeat them all?
Yes, our website is www.theherbistry.com. It's TheherBistry. And you will also find us on Instagram and on Facebook, also The Herbistry. Jennifer, it's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you again. And ladies, have a wonderful week. I'll be back next week to talk about vitamins for menopause. Until then, stay well. Bye for now. Thank you for listening to Menopause Natural Solution. This podcast contains general information about menopause. It is provided as a guide and is not intended to replace medical advice. Opinions of guests of their own and this podcast does not endorse or accept responsibility for statements made by guests.